Hi YouTube, I'm Leila Thomasone, love stylist and marriage alchemist. And I just wanted to talk a little bit today about the difference between dating, being in a relationship, and courtship. And this is confusing. A lot of people have questions about this, and it's come up a lot, especially just online talking to people. Women especially get confused as to what it means when you're dating and when you're actually in a relationship versus just being casual and non-exclusive. And we've got a lot of misconceptions out there, a lot of confusion. Most people these days think that you're supposed to just go exclusive as soon as you start dating someone, which is not true. It's not the case. When you're dating, you have to be getting to know the person and knowing whether you want to be in a relationship with them. But when you're exclusive, that is a relationship, right? And so that's a step that needs to be taken from the casual dating scenario when you're meeting into an agreement that you're in a relationship. So in order to have an agreement, you need, this is, it might sound a little nerdy, goes to my business training and stuff, but to have an agreement, it's like a contract, right? Someone has to make an offer. There has to be a request for the agreement, and then the offer is accepted or not. And there also usually needs to be compensation in order for it to be a valid agreement. And so, we don't have to get that technical, but it just makes sense that in order for there to be an agreement that you're in a relationship and you're dating exclusively, so sorry, that's a little confusing, just dating, I'm going to assume, and you should too, just dating prior to the request and the acceptance of the agreement to be in a relationship together, that is just dating, that's non-exclusive. But when you move up to being exclusive with each other, somebody has had to make the request and made an offer, hey, let's be in a relationship together. Let's be exclusive. That needs to be stated. And usually most people agree, and I am one of them, that request needs to come from the man. And why is that? Hopefully, we're all at different places. No shame if this isn't common sense for you. But yeah, it needs to come from the man because he needs to be leading the relationship. If you want to be pursued, if you want to be treated like a princess, and what I teach is the princess treatment method, that ladies like to be taken care of, we like to be pampered. That's when we feel safe and secure and happiest. And consequently, our men feel happiest when we're happiest. When we're feeling safe and secure, they feel good about themselves, they feel confident, and they feel happier in the relationship. So that happens best when he is leading. And there's a lot of reasons behind this, but one of them is just kind of basic biology, and back to when we, as we evolved, we were hunter-gatherers, right? And the men were hunting and pursuing. That's in their nature. Sorry to say, but it is. It's true. I love this. I love this whole dynamic, and I'm a nerd about it. But some people get offended. It's not offensive. It's just reality. It's just our biological nature that men are hunters, and that's when they're happiest, is when they go and pursue, and when they feel they've won a prize by achieving and earning your hand in the relationship. And so in the past, this was always called courtship. And that's really what I teach, is that you want courtship because this is going to lead to the happiest and strongest relationship and marriage. and the happiest and strongest individuals. And it's also going to save a lot of time. Most relationships these days waste tons of time with lots of unspoken assumptions. People have expectations on each other that they never even talk about, and yet they'll be upset and butthurt that you haven't fulfilled their expectations, even though they never told you what they were. So really, this princess treatment method that I teach is much more direct and much more honest, and you're actually going to communicate with each other and have those expectations laid out on the table much, much clearer. And this allows you to move the relationship along at a natural pace, which in my experience and what I teach is that it can happen really quickly, that there's really no need to spend a lot of time and waste a lot of time when you're doing things correctly. And so when I say you're doing things correctly, what I mean is the man is leading. You start out dating non-exclusively. Okay, so he needs to ask you out, and that's how the relationship gets started. Now, if you've made any mistakes at any point in time, you can always back off and lean back, as we say. So it is possible to correct errors if you've been the one pursuing him. And I've done a video that I think was just like this light bulb of why you never want to be the one pursuing. If you're the woman, you always want your man to pursue you. So that was one of my first videos I did. So explore back and you'll find that one, why you should never pursue him. And I can explain that more, but like I said, you're going to have your best, happiest relationship if he's pursuing you. So if you ever find that you've leaned in too much and you've been starting to lead the relationship or make assumptions, kind of push things forward before he's come to you and asked you, remember, we need to have an offer and an acceptance in order to have an agreement. You can't just assume and then wind up with an agreement. And I see this happening all the time, that women assume, oh, well, if I stop seeing other people, then he will too, and then we'll be in a relationship. And then if we move in together, then that means we're going to get married, and that means that we're, bonded together forever. Don't do that. Don't make those assumptions. You know how much time you're wasting waiting around? Do you know how anxious you get, how anxious you feel when you're in the driver's seat and he's not the one pushing the relationship forward? So even little girls know this. When you are pursuing him, he's not so sure that you're really what he wants. He's going to be talking to other girls, and you're not going to feel good. You're going to feel very, very anxious. So I'm telling you these things to help you prevent those problems in your relationship. Okay, so number one, he needs to ask you out. Number two, you are not dating exclusively until there's an agreement, and that means until he asks you to be exclusive. Number three, what is the offer on both sides? What is the agreement on both sides? Typically, it's super, super valuable. A man being the hunter that he is, when he decides you're the prize, he does not want you seeing other men. And this is your biggest leverage point. This is, and let me just qualify here, this is really important. We are not talking about having sex in this scenario. Courtship does not involve sleeping around and one-night stands and anything of that sort. Courtship involves a proper it's funny because it's kind of like moving slow physically, sexually. You might even kind of get mistaken for a prude, but really, this is going to maximize your experience and your happiness in the courtship. And like I said, it's actually going to save you a lot of time by holding back on the physicality and the sexuality. You're going to actually speed things along, because that's such a big motivator for the man, right? He wants that. So he's going to be making you happy and doing things you want in order to earn it. And what does he need to do to earn it? And I don't mean this in a business-like, transaction-like way. I mean this in a healthy relationship way. He needs to earn your trust. He needs to be trustworthy, and he needs to prove himself. He needs to prove that you can trust him. And that doesn't mean he's a nice guy. There's lots of nice guys that, if you haven't been the one to insist, and I don't mean that in a bitchy way, but if you haven't held high standards for how they need to treat you, then why would they say they need to do more than that? Unless you're just putting off that energy that you have high standards and he really wants to pursue you. Those are important ingredients. You have high standards and he really, really wants to pursue you. Super, super important that those ingredients are both there for you to have a successful relationship. And so while he wants to pursue you and he wants to get to know you and he wants to eventually get physical and have sex and hopefully pursue a marriage with you, then you're watching and waiting and looking for his actions and making sure that he is a man of integrity and that he's upholding his word and his promises to you. So you've got to wait for that before you get physical with him. If you're looking for marriage, make that known. The goal of courtship is marriage. So if you're just looking for something casual and you don't mind fooling around, and I'm sorry, but you're going to get your heart broken a bunch of times because that's just how it works when women fool around. I've been there. Then this advice is not for you. But if you are in the place where you do accept that you really, really want marriage, then don't settle for anything less. If he's not ready, if he doesn't have that level of devotion to you, then move along. Keep seeing other men. So I hope some of this has been helpful. The difference between dating and a relationship and courtship, that you should be assuming until there's an actual request and an offer and you've accepted and made an agreement, then you should not be exclusive. And like I said, doesn't include sex. We're not doing that. But yeah, that is what dating should mean if you're going for the purpose of marriage, looking for a husband, that you should always, always, always be seeing other people until it's been made very, very clear what the offer is, what the arrangement is, and that you've accepted the terms of that agreement before you stop seeing other people. And I can talk in another video about why that's hard for us to do and why we're so resistant to seeing other people, why we kind of just jump into exclusive dating without that agreement. Like I said, we are usually assuming that if we do that, that will move the relationship forward faster, but it's really not true. So I can talk more next time about what kind of fears and misconceptions are behind why we jump in too soon. But for now, I just wanted to let you know kind of the different terms and what we're talking about when we say dating and when we say being in a relationship. That means there has to be an agreement. And when we're talking about courtship, we're referring to dating that is intended to lead to marriage. So I hope you found this helpful. If you have, then please like, share, subscribe, and turn on that notification bell. Again, I'm Leila Thomasone, love stylist and marriage alchemist, and I specialize in magnetizing women to attract their soulmate, find their king, and get the ring. So I will talk to you later. Thank you so much for joining me. See you next time. Bye-bye.